Okay, we're going to get started here. I'd like to begin by welcoming you to Bryant University's online CFP certification course. This is the first of your cohort's virtual sessions. It is Introduction to Financial Planning, virtual class 1 of 3. Tonight we're going to go over the financial planning process, very important foundational element to the entire financial planning environment. We're going to talk about time value of money and its impact on the growth of money over time. And we're going to discuss the CFP Board Code of Ethics and Standards of Professional Conduct. Also very important for you to understand. So what I'd like to do, since this is the first session, is to introduce a couple of ground rules. First off, my name is Brendan Flaherty. I am the program director for the financial planning programs at Bryant University, or the online financial planning program. I will be teaching you the financial planning module. You will also get me again for the investments module, and will certainly be part of your capstone course. This course itself is not an exam prep course, or at least these virtual sessions are not an exam prep course. I will, however, from time to time throughout the presentations, give you some test-taking tips to at least give you some benefit to, again, most of us are going to be going through this process in an attempt to pass and become certified financial planners. This is also not a calculator class. We will be heavily leaning in the material on the HP12C. You are certainly not obligated to use the HP12C. The CFP board will allow for any financial calculator, or any calculator for that matter, that does not have alphanumeric characters in it. So they won't let you, and sometimes when you walk into the actual test environment, one of the things that they'll do is force you to reset your calculator's memory just to make sure that you're not storing anything in there. However, the 12C is the calculator that we will use. I will refer sometimes to the 10B2 or the 17B2 Plus or Texas Instruments BA2 Plus Professional. If you notice in the right-hand corner up here, I do have an HP12C emulator. So for those of you that are planning on using the 12C but don't have it with you, you can actually punch that up, and it will allow you to use your mouse and manipulate the calculator right from your desktop. So you won't be left behind. There is time built in for questions. If there aren't a lot of questions, this whole process tonight will take probably less than 2 hours. It's going to be very close to 2 hours. It is scheduled from 7 to 9. If there are a lot of questions, we may go over. I think you'll find that I can be at points a little verbose, trying to reinforce what I think is the most important pieces of the curriculum. There are some classes that you will take, or some virtual sessions that you will take, that won't come close to the 2 hours. The other people that don't take all the time, I certainly borrow from. Tonight's course should be 2 hours on the nose. As we get into investments, some of those classes take a little longer. So there is time built in for questions. The questions, because everyone's line is muted, the questions are to be entered in the Q&A box here. So you just type in a question, and if at that point I think it's appropriate to answer where it's not going to really disrupt the flow, I'll answer it right then and there. However, there will be regular intervals within the presentation so that I can make sure that all questions are answered. We'll give ample time for those to get typed in. One of the things I do ask is if we do break for a question, if you do have a question, just type a Y and hit enter so I know that people are typing. I definitely see the questions once they pop up. However, I don't know if you're working on typing, and I don't want to move on and kind of leave you in the dust. The class will move at a fast pace. It is, however, archived. So the recordings, all the drawings that I'll do within the PowerPoint presentation will be archived, so you will be able to see it at a later date. And I do encourage you to go back and look at the archives so you can kind of control the course at your own pace. We do cover a lot of information, so it may get a little bit intimidating. However, the archive is a great tool for you to go back to and make sure that you're actually hearing what you think you're hearing and understand it. Remember that this is obtaining the education is different from prepping for the exam. This is fulfilling one of the E's that you're supposed to have for the certification process, and it allows it allows you to obtain the education. You're going to be holding yourself out. Once you do get through this curriculum and the exam successfully, you're going to be holding yourself out as financial planners. As a result of that, there's a higher expectation of knowledge put on you from the industry. So you don't want to, you want to make sure you do obtain that quality education so that you are living up to your end of the bargain. Okay, so a little bit about me. Again, my name is Brendan Flaherty. I have a Master's of Science in Finance, Certified Financial Planner, Certified Investment Management Analyst. My day job, I am a financial advisor, financial planner for Merrill Lynch in Providence, Rhode Island. I've been working with Merrill Lynch for roughly 10 years, and I have somewhere around $250 million under management. I do a lot of financial plans during the year for existing clients, new clients. Some of the plans are brand new. Some of the plans are updating existing plans. So I have a lot of experience in delivering this type of environment to clients. Some of them are very complex. Some of them, however, are not. You're going to learn as you kind of go through this process that not everybody needs the exact same thing as everybody else. So I've had a lot of experience. I probably do somewhere around 100 financial plans a year. So certainly am available as a resource to you as you go through the education process. Also, when you ask a question through the tutor box, more than likely that question is going to be answered by me. So it may be that my answer to you is, hey, listen, what's a number I can reach you at in a time that's good for you? I'll call you because it's easier to discuss via the phone rather than going back and forth over email. Okay, so the financial planning process. What is it? The financial planning process gives direction to your financial decisions. It helps you assess the short, medium, and long-term effects of every financial decision on your life goals. And when we talk about short, in the investment world, short is anything between 1 and 3 years, or really right time 0 and 3 years. A medium time frame would be anything longer than 3 years up to 7 years, and anything over 7 years is considered long-term in the investment world. There are some people that will say that actually 5 years is adequate for a long-term horizon. So it's really kind of a moving target, but I would say that anything over 7 years you can consider long-term. And it's a lifelong process called life cycle planning. Good planners, good financial planners will adopt what's called a multi-horizon approach, where you are making sure that things that are needed and demanded in the short term are taken care of. You are making sure that very long-term lofty goals are taken care of, and then if there's anything in between the two, you want to do your best without sacrificing the other two. So your job as the planner is to flesh out what these goals and objectives for your clients are, and come to some sort of agreed upon strategy to try and accomplish them. Also, as time moves on, needs change and wants change, and the plan and the planning process needs to be fluid to try and address those changes. We certainly can't be naive enough to say that, okay, for clients that are 40 years old, that are making X for income and have Y in investments, we're going to go ahead and stamp this plan, and 30 years from now, it's still going to be good. The financial plan is a living document. It should be something that's addressed, again, at any of these life changes. So if we have a death or a birth or an inheritance, unexpected inheritance to one of the clients, divorces. When you have these major life events, you have to be able to alter the plan to make sure that it's sometimes the changes will be minor, sometimes they will be drastic, but the plan has to be a living document. Outside of those life events that would require a change to the plan, you should probably look to address it on at least an annual basis. Whatever agreed upon interval is what you want to adhere to, but typically anything more than annually is probably a little too granular. We're dealing with the big wheel stuff or the big rock stuff. You're going to find that there's not a lot of changes that happen within a year. and that most of the time you're just kind of fine-tuning based on some of the expectations. We're going to set forth expectations for inflation. We're going to set forward expectations for what markets are going to do. After the year, the blood's all spilled. We understand what actually happened. Was it to the benefit of the plan? Was it to the detriment of the plan? Do we need to make any adjustments as a result of that? So it's more fine-tuning what you set forth. Obviously, the initial plan requires the most amount of diligence, the most amount of work. So then we have different spokes of a wheel that kind of feed into the wheel of financial planning process. So with the principles of financial planning, some of the things that you are dealing with would be, or the 6 different modules that you're going to be responsible for would be the time value of money in the economic environment, which is really kind of the crux of this first module, which is the principles of financial planning. Next, you'd move into insurance planning and risk management to make sure that all of the exposures that your clients have, both from a life, disability, and property casualty environment, are dealt with. Third, we have investment planning. I think most people that come into this come into it with the expectation that this is based around the investments. And you're going to find, I think, as you go through it, that it really isn't. You want to make sure that the investment plan comes back to whatever risk is required to be taken in order to accomplish the goals and objectives of the clients. Fourth is income tax planning. There are certainly benefits that you can bring to the table where you can at least give some advice on tax planning. It's certainly not expected that you're going to be an expert in taxes. However, you have to be able to know enough to identify if there's a problem or an opportunity for them to potentially do better than they currently are. From there, you move into retirement planning. Retirement planning is really, it tends to be where the rubber meets the road. Retirement planning and education planning are the two big things that you're going to do frequently, really almost across the board. Again, we're going to talk a little bit about how not everyone needs all of these things, but most people that you deal with are going to require some form of education planning, some form of retirement planning. And then finally, if the clients are wealthy enough, you have estate planning issues that you're going to want to address. Again, some clients are going to need all aspects of these 6 modules. Some clients are only going to need a few. And there also is a lot of overlap or bleeding from one to the other. So tonight, we're going to be talking about financial planning, the fundamentals of financial planning. We're going to be talking about a little bit about investments. And some of those investment decisions create tax consequences. So that's where that overlap comes, where you make a decision on one of these buckets and it gets impacted by another one of the buckets. And you want to be aware of what those interlaps are so that you can make sure, again, you are addressing them. So what drives the financial plan? You have, each person has his or her own unique facts and circumstances, and you have to understand that plans are unique to each situation. Small differences in circumstances can lead to completely different outcomes and completely different plans. The other thing you have to remember is one size does not fit all. You need to determine each person's wants and needs to assess if they're reasonable and attainable. So if you're coming into this expecting that you're going to be able to just create this tool that's going to fit everybody, I would reassess that. You're missing the point. This, again, is a very unique situation. Certainly there are things that you can lend to every client that you deal with, but each plan has to be malleable to the actual client that you're dealing with at that time. And then you have, again, the person's wants and needs. That's a very difficult thing to nail down, probably one of the more difficult parts of our job. You're going to have different client attitudes and expectations where some people will come to you and say, hey, listen, I got a lot of money saved up. And a lot of money to them is $100,000. And it may not be that that $100,000 gets them to where they think it's going to be. So those are difficult conversations to have, but as the planner, it's incumbent upon you to deliver whatever news is real. And other people would say that they don't want to take any risk. And if they don't take any risk, they're not going to have enough retirement income to live off of. So again, you have to really kind of shape their expectations and goals with them. You have to understand the issues. You have to seek expert advice when applicable. So again, you don't have to be the expert in everything, but you have to know enough to be able to identify issues. And then at that point, you can refer out to tax professionals, legal professionals for corporate structure or business structure, estate planning, whatever it is that you're going to refer to. And some of you may not want to get involved in the investments, and you can certainly farm that out as well to mutual fund managers or separately managed accounts. You'll find that there are people who come into this that just want to be financial planners and don't want to touch any of the other stuff. They want to know about it. They want to give referrals to other people, to other professionals to be able to deal with it for them, but they don't want to touch it themselves. There is no right answer or solution. There's only good, better, and best, and you need to provide those alternatives to clients. Clients may not always agree with you. You're going to find that this process can sometimes be a back and forth before you get whittled down to the actual plan that's going to be put into place. Now, the other piece of this is clients can be sometimes forceful, where they don't want to save extra or they don't want to take risk. And again, I would equate it to going to the doctor's office and the doctor says, well, hey, listen, you need to stop smoking. You're smoking 2 packs a day. It's not good for you. It's going to ultimately end poorly for you. And you say, you know what, though? I really like to smoke. It makes me really happy. Here's all the reasons. And the doctor says, oh, you know what? You're right. That's fine. You have to be certain. There are going to be certain things that you come to understand, and you need to, again, the client's decision is final. It is their money. It is, again, they're hiring you. However, you can't just acquiesce to everything that they say. You certainly have things that you are bringing to the table, and make sure you have conviction in those philosophies.